Hello, everybody. As you know, my name is Kati Clemens, and I am the coordinator of Learntech Accelerator, our LEA project. Today, in the LEA t-shirt as well, we are here, me and Mikko. Mikko Muilu over there is also present. We're here to answer your questions about these three topics. We're talking about what are the biggest Learntech trends right now and how they are maybe being utilized in the classrooms. The idea is to get some sort of hints and insights of where this where the technological world is going, and since we are doing innovation procurement, it is important to see where are we now and what could we see for the future. Specifically, if we are designing instruments like PCP, pre-commercial procurement, where you are doing the research and technology together with the companies in order to make a new innovation. So we should look at what is out there in the technology world and how are those actually utilized in the schools. And to answer to these questions, we have got the expert of a doctor in education, Jari Laru from University of Oulu, who has been studying these things, and he has been on the field looking at how teacher trainees and teachers are using technologies in the real school. And so our perspective for this webinar comes from his experiences. And we decided to choose three topics that are really hot at the moment. And those topics are the virtual reality, also augmented and mixed reality, robotics, because that's a topic that we see that is advancing fast. And the third one is artificial intelligence. And of course, learning analytics. What does it mean for the schools and how is it already utilized in there? So welcome, and now I just hope that you check out the experts discussion.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mikko Muilu, and I'm here with Jari Laru. Jari is a doctor in education and university lecturer, and he's teaching the future teachers. Would you like to say something, Jari?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm from northern Finland, 500 kilometers up north from Helsinki, at the University of Oulu, and I work, as Mikko said, as a university lecturer in the research unit for learning and educational technology. My responsibility is to offer courses in technology enhanced learning and teaching for students who are studying, let's say, early childhood education, primary school teacher education programs, then secondary teacher education programs, and the high school teacher education programs. Those high school and secondary level of primary school are voluntary, those courses, but primary school teachers and then primary school teachers between between classes 1 and 6 and early childhood education. So the courses are applicable for them. But anyway, I'm teaching technology enhanced learning. I'm doing also research related to computational thinking, emerging technologies like mobile devices, social media education, makers education, that kind of fancy topic. Also work as educational technologist, so I push our university to adopt new learning technologies. Also outside of the faculty, so at the university level, I push our ICT administration and educational administration to adopt tools and methods. Yes.
So we're supposed to be talking about the topics that are seen here, the virtual reality and augmented reality, mixed reality, robotics, and a bit about artificial intelligence. From which would you like to start?
I think that it would be meaningful to start from that virtual augmented mixed reality, because we have a quite interesting, let's say, trend at the moment, or developing trajectory. We have we have a cheap, affordable approach to that, but on the other hand, we have also very sophisticated and advanced possibilities to use these kind of technologies in different kind of education levels. Let's say from medical education to early childhood education, there are a little bit different needs. And so.
Okay. How do you see the future in teaching with these tools like virtual reality? How could you use it in like primary school or secondary school?
I think that now we have had a few years, we have had, for example, Google Cardboard classes available, and Google Expedition tools have been possible to use in educational context. Of course, this technology is quite emergent, and early adopters have used this kind of tools. But both tools like that Google Cardboard and Google Expeditions are free for teachers. So it's like possible to start immediately. And also now Google Tor Creator enables teachers and students to create their own expedition tours. And it's a pretty interesting. And of course we have had Aurasma, nowadays HP review, years and years, in order to augment, for example, books and other artifacts in the classroom context. So you can use Aurasma, or let's say that HP review, for example, to add book author representation on top of the book when you just look through the mobile device, that video or story done by the student or pupil will appear on top of the book. That kind of augmented reality and virtual reality examples and tools have been in the context now few years. But of course, this is developing very rapidly.
So how do you see these technologies? When are they coming mainstream, and when could we start having those in every classroom?
Yeah, if you think about, for example, virtual reality headsets, much more professional than Google Cardboard. Let's say HTC Vive and what we have had different kind of like a first stage of products like that. So the price tag is quite high and they are quite complex to configure and run. But if you think about now, this year, Microsoft republished a reference design for Windows mixed reality headset, and they pushed price points lower. And I little bit, I trust that kind of mainstream device will push this phenomena further in educational context. And also Microsoft and other companies have produced first learning materials and tools to author learning materials. For example, Paint is nowadays Paint 3D, and you can actually paint in three-dimensional objects and move those through the Windows mixed reality headset. But it's a quite preliminary technology, but it's approaching the mainstream, I'd like to say, because price point is going down.
Anything else you would like to say about these technologies, or are we moving to robotics?
Now we have discussed only about consuming virtual reality mostly, and if you have resources to buy cloud services, one example is Thinglink virtual reality editor, where you can import 360-degree videos, and you can annotate those videos by using different source materials, let's say YouTube videos or ambient audio inside of your 360-degree video. But it's important to notice that you need to buy at the same time also 360-degree camera in order to make professional quality. But that kind of consumer market 360-degree cameras are quite affordable, so you need to have a 400 euros for camera, and then money for annual license of Thinglink virtual reality editor. And after that, you can create, for example, tutorials for learning contexts in order to describe spaces and so on. You can create virtual like a tour into different contexts, let's say park or museums, etc., with students. So it's like a producing virtual reality material. It's quite approaching way to engage students with that. Not only you consume ready-made materials. And it's an issue of procurement. You need to know what you need and I have some kind of pedagogical ideas of using that kind of techniques for classroom purpose.
Next one is robotics. How would you see the current developments with using robots in the education, Arduinos and other similar simple robots that the students can use?
Yeah, I would like to categorize robotics into two very broad categories. Let's say another category will include robots and electronics and that kind of artifacts in the context of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, arts, STEAM umbrella in that context. And then another group of robotics would fit into human-like robots, which are helping teachers and students to do some things, let's say, to learn or teach, and so on, pedagogical agents and so on. But let's discuss first about that robot as educational tool in the context of STEAM subjects. And it's a robot as a concept. It's quite complicated because it can be understood as a very simple early childhood robotics. Let's say Bluebot, Beebots are very, very easy to approach robots because they have user interface on top of the bee-like robot, and it's a starting point. And after that, it's a very common that students will move, pupils will move to learn with Sphero, Lego, or robots or NXT robots, electronics, and so on. Continuing from that, it can be so that you will have only motors, sensors, switches, etc., and electronic programmable electronics and possibilities to 3D design and print and so on in the maker's context. So it's a continuum from very early level robotics to where you actually do very ill-structured problem solving in the context of MATLAB or automakers. So it's very difficult to squeeze into one package. But this is topic which includes a lot of procurement, if you think about from the context of LEA, of course, because without buying physical artifacts, you can't do robotics.
What do you see as the benefits of using robots? Is it the programming or the actual building of the robots, or how do you see it?
I think that in the Finnish context, we have had handicrafts as a topic, school subject decades and decades. So I see the strongest value of coding and using robots and electronics in the from the pedagogical way. So it's a very nice context for creative problem solving, which is one 21st century skill, and collaboration around a shared project, and creativity as such. If you think about designing that complex technological artifact, but also different kind of design point of view. If we 3D design and print or laser cut some covers or parts of that robot. So it's very nice context for ill-structured problem solving in the groups. It's a vehicle for pedagogical benefits.
The other side of the robotics scaffolding or using it as a pedagogical agent is in the far future, so we are skipping that part. Then to the artificial intelligence. How do you feel about how it's going to revolutionize the whole education? And will it? And how and when?
Oh yes, a pretty interesting question. It's a phenomenon which is being discussed a lot. It seems that it's a marketing term at the moment for pretty many companies. But in the long run, I think that artificial intelligence, together with blockchain technologies, etc., will change the role and the activities of teachers a lot. Artificial intelligence and that kind of disruptive technologies will change the way how we think about learning environments, learning tools, learning materials, assessment, and so on. Because for teachers, it's a tool. It's not a threat for teachers. When it comes to many research reports, teachers are not under the threat, but AI will support our activities a lot. It's interesting. It's fascinating.
It'll be somewhere in the future, and now when we see software companies selling their artificial intelligence or the programs using artificial intelligence, they are actually not yet in the artificial intelligence in the sense that it would be thinking and learning by itself.
I think that it's difficult to sell artificial intelligence for learning purposes at the moment, when researchers are now trying to capture where the learning is. If you think about, for example, learning analytics. Without proper learning analytics, we can't actually advance artificial intelligence algorithms. But it's around the corner. I would like to say that it's not long-term technology. It will change how we think about our learning and daily working practices. It's a middle term. I wouldn't say that it's short term. It's a middle term. But if you think about the backwards, Google Docs and that kind of cloud services, they're not mainstream 5 years ago. So if you think about 5 years further, then definitely we will have a pretty interesting different kind of tool to support learning and teaching.
Would you have some final words?
I would like to say that I have had many kind of teacher education student cohorts, pre-service teacher education cohorts, and different kind of young generations. And I have tried to always to persuade them to be curious, to follow different changes in the field of educational technology. And you don't need to be early adopter, but I hope that you are at least curious to know how world will be changed with the help of the technology. It's not going to disappear or fade away. It's going to be around us. And as a teacher, if you adopt at least some best parts of the technology, it would be a very nice tool to help you to organize your teaching learning activities and orchestrate your classroom practices, assess students' learning outcomes, and so on. So it's I recommend that. Be curious.
All right, we'll be curious. And now we are ending the video session, and we are asking questions or getting questions from the listeners.
Yes,
Thank you, Jari. Have a fun trip to France, and
Yes.
I hope to see you later on.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You have listened to Mikko and Jari talk about virtual reality, robotics, and artificial intelligence from the perspective of education. Maybe you have some questions to ask. I'm going to start. Since I was not an expert on this panel, I can be one person to ask a question, and I'm going to ask the question from Mikko because he is also a STEM teacher in high school in Finland. We're going to share the same microphone so that you don't get the sound going around, hopefully. But I would like to ask you that, okay, that if you are a teacher in the STEM topics and you don't really know anything about these future technologies and where they are at the moment, how would you get started? Or what would be a kind of like low level, if you want to do like one experiment this autumn in your school, or something to get the students motivated, what would be already available for you and for you as a teacher, and what would you start with? It can be virtual reality, robotics, or artificial intelligence, and you could also elaborate on which of these do you think is like closest to the reality right now, that is the artificial intelligence already there in the schools? Is robotics already there? Is virtual reality already there? What is the closest to the reality in the schools in Finland right now? So that's a question for you.
All right.
You can come here, so maybe we get better sound.
Okay. So, hello everybody. First, virtual reality and augmented reality. There are lots of these commercial virtual reality glasses, but there's hardly any practical use for them in the class. There's some, but you should really find out first that how could you use it, or how could you use them. Jari was talking about the Google Cardboard. It's a virtual glasses made out of cardboard, and just put your smartphone in it, because the phone has all the motion sensors and gyroscopes and whatnot too, so you can actually use it, and it's pretty good. And
so you would start with the Google Cardboard. That's the low threshold right now. Yes. 2018.
Yeah. The cardboard costs something like €2. And if you have a smartphone and you buy that cardboard thing, then you can start experimenting and maybe find out if there's some pedagogical view for your teaching. Then the robots, those are the ones that I start using. Like, to answer your question, those are the ones. You can go to the nearest supermarket, and probably you can find from the Lego section, there's Lego MindStorms, and there are robots that you can actually program and start using in the teaching, and they are used widely, and they are really they're flexible. You can most of the students know how to build Legos, so it'll feel like it's fun, and they'll start programming and learning by accident.
So if your school doesn't want to invest millions into virtual reality or robotics, it could be that if you are a maths or science or engineering or technology teacher, you could go into the local supermarket and just buy something. It's not so expensive. Okay.
Yeah, it's not that expensive, and if you don't know if you can use them in the classroom, the Lego MindStorm kits are costing something like 200 euros or something, and you can get a pretty fancy robot with that money. And if that suits you well, then you can easily go to Sphero and
what is this Sphero?
It's a sphere that you can program, and it's doing
sphere.
Stuff. Yeah, it's
sphere.
A ball.
It's a ball. Okay.
Yeah. So
probably there is quite a lot of different resources coming up in these discussions. What we are going to do for you, the listeners there, we are going to put these resources underneath the YouTube link of this webinar, and you can go and check out them from there on some sort of bits and pieces of what could be already done in the classroom if there is teachers listening to this.
Yes. And then the last part, the artificial intelligence, like we talked with Jari, it's not here yet. There's.
What do you mean it's not here yet? What about the iPhone 10s or who's supposed to guess everything that, okay, if you fall down, then you are an old person having a heart attack, and it will call the police or at least an ambulance.
Yeah, it's pre-programmed, so it's not actually like intelligent. In
that, really? That's not artificial intelligence.
Oh well, it depends on the how you
define it.
Yeah, the defining of the artificial intelligence.
So what is artificial intelligence?
It can be statistics that if you can if the machine finds some correlations, that can be defined as artificial intelligence, but it's not.
Okay.
And then there's machine learning.
Yeah.
And it's actually it's not programmed to do something, and it's learning how to do something more easily.
But surely I think that at least when I was looking at the Apple's like marketing speech about whatever the iPhone does, yes, that it was actually learning from the user's behavior. Some things like honestly, like I think that, for example, what my phone does is that because I use like Google Calendar and it uses the GPS, then it knows what are my like events that happen every week. For example, they know that I go to floorball every Friday at 4 o'clock, and if I am not close by and if I have not left, it can say, let's say that I was 300 kilometers away at my mother's place. It said to me, possibly you should think about leaving now because there is light traffic between Kajaani and Jyväskylä. So, and in order for you to get to floorball where we know that you are going, even though I haven't told them, but they have learned that I have been there, and they have put like all of these like ideas together. So surely the artificial intelligence does exist that way.
Yeah, if you are defining it that way, yes. Then, but if it's defined that you could actually just feed it information and would be making like all the recent articles about e-learning and journals about it, and then it would be patching up new theories. Then, but
what does it mean for example personalized learning environments? Are they measuring what how the student is learning right now, and giving some sort of hints about.
We are hoping that, like we were talking with Jari, that we are hoping that it will be the near future or midterm future, but it's not here yet. The teachers are not replaced by the artificial intelligence, but it's a tool that the teachers can use, hopefully in the near future. But it's not quite there yet.
Yes, but at least I think that there is some sort of recommendation algorithms already, so they are quite like maybe preliminary. That's a difficult word. Some elementary applications are available, but as far as I have seen, the problem comes from the fact that there is not enough data, or that the students do not use these learning environments necessarily in the way that the developer has meant the learning to happen. For example, the teacher is not using it every day for every task, but maybe once a month, and then there is not enough data to process, and the algorithms cannot learn unless there is data behind the learning. And if there isn't, then that kind of means that they are just sitting in there and they're not doing anything. I mean, you can say that your learning environment is doing artificial intelligence, but if you have no proof of this happening, or that the decisions that it could make would be smart enough or teacher-like, for example, then we can't really say that is yet the case. How many years do you think that it will be that is going to happen?
Yeah, it's everything's always like 5 years ahead. And I think that maybe in.
But this is the education sector, so we move really slowly because we don't have as much money as the commercial sector.
Yeah, and first we'll see it in the business and stock market, and that'll be the first place where it's really going to, or where the money is right now.
Yeah.
And I think that we'll see something like that in maybe 5 or 10 years. The stock markets.
But at least I think that one sign for the future is that in Finland there was a course for artificial intelligence online organized, and Finland is a country of 5 million people, and 90,000 people attended this course. Yeah. 90,000 people for one course in one university.
2% of the whole country.
Yeah, so 90,000 people for a course. You know, if you would have sold it €1 for the course.
Yeah, but not.
Yeah, I mean, but still, it is mind blowing, and you can see that people really need to know, or they need to understand what artificial intelligence is, and or isn't.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, we can actually link the course, the YouTube comments also.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a 6-week course. It's a massive open online course, so you can, if it's still open, you can attend it for free.
Is it in
Yes.
English?
It's in English.
Exactly. So you could be one of those 90,000 or even more people to listen. I mean, these topics are so interesting that I think that Learntech Accelerator is going to continue talking about these things. We are planning to have a new project next year, looking at the needs of the schools. What do they actually want to do with future technologies, with innovation? What kind of innovation would they want to raise? There's a question.
Yeah, Antonio. Hey, Antonio. Antonio says that we should ask Lego to sponsor our project in the school labs. Yes,
absolutely.
I agree.
I think that would be a good idea. Yes.
Yeah.
Lego and Google Cardboard and what else have we mentioned? The Sphere and all of these products. But no, we're not getting any additional funding from marketing. We are just discussing these from the academic point of view and trying to help municipalities to see what is out there. Firstly, what could we bring to the schools, and that's the idea, because maybe you don't have time to go and look in the market and get started somehow. And of course, the purpose of LEA is to accelerate the innovative procurement. So we are going to build, like I was starting to discuss, that we are going to build this PCP project next year, which is going to be for completely new topics. It could be anything. For example, one of these could be the answer, but it has to be some sort of problem that is really happening in the schools that the schools actually need, and if schools don't need anything, then our job is done. Well, but of course, the teachers have to be somehow educated of what is out there, because otherwise they're not going to be able to know that, okay, I want this one because it's helping me in my job. If I don't know that it exists, then how can I ask for it? So they have to start these early. The adopters have to start trying these things out. Otherwise, there's no way for them to understand the benefits that it could do, how their students could be more motivated and so on.
Right. There's few people typing there.
Yeah, please ask them more questions if you want. You can write them into the chat box, and we will answer. Hopefully, our sound is okay. I don't know. Okay, so there's a question from Petri.
Yes. Could the project collect the experiences and examples from past events? Oh, yes.
Yes, absolutely. And in some ways, we are also doing that, and we are introducing these experiences, but we're not doing a kind of systematic collection. But it's a good idea to look at the different countries, what has been done, what kind of good examples there are, because then it's a lot easier to explain to other teachers and other municipalities on what has been working, what are the success stories, and so on. But actually, personally, I've been a little bit concerned about the pedagogical point of view around technologies, new technologies that come, that often there is so much hype around, like the new gadget, and not necessarily a kind of reason to bring it to the classroom, and the kind of like connection to learning and teaching, and how is it actually accelerating the teaching, and that is sometimes missing. So I think the pedagogical aspects should be considered a lot more when designing technologies. And one way is to do it through the innovation procurement, because of the fact that you are involving then the users in co-creation of these future technologies.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. But thank you guys for attending today. You can listen to this also on YouTube. afterwards, and you can post questions there as well. And Jari can also answer them after he gets out of his plane. It was good seeing you. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to be talking about the requirements engineering, or how to get the needs from schools. This is the perspective next week, in 2 weeks' time. Okay, so thank you for attending.